How do you know it doesn't work if you haven't tried it? People use this as a cop out line for some method that they've used in the gym or an eating plan or whatever. And at first glance, this sounds good. But when you stop and think about it, if you are truly educated on a topic, you can completely throw out certain things, even if they're trendy and popular, without having to try them out because they've been studied. We have lab data that we can collect on these things. And it would be different if it was something that has a vastly proven successful track record, say in elite sports, right? It'd be different. But let's step back and think about it in the funniest way possible. There are warning labels on things that you buy all the time, and you often wonder, how did this get here? What? Don't use this hair dryer in the shower, right? Don't eat this. Why are those warning labels there? Because someone tried it without thinking it through first. They just tried it without putting any critical thought into it. Therefore, the need for those warning labels exists because people died trying to use a hair dryer in the shower because they didn't think it through. Warning labels exist because of people who do things like this. Just try something without thinking about it. I can give you plenty of examples. I personally use conjugate training, but you know what? I don't mess with conjugate because I just wanted to try something new. I mess with conjugate because of the proven track record. Now, tons of people argue about why it can't work, but when someone argues that something can't work and it clearly does, then they're the one that's wrong. But you look at something like conjugate and what? It's produced out of Louis Simmons's gym 100 world record holders. 100 world record holders in powerlifting. It's produced world-class spinners, MMA fighters, NFL players. This whole training system. It's science-based. It's based on decades of testing in elite level athletes while being science-based and being tested and tested and tested and refined. Okay, to make sure that it is a phenomenal system. There's a difference between trying something like that that's controversial versus trying something that might be popular because of a few names who do it, but it's been completely debunked. Examples, focusing on time under tension. Okay, that's a buzzword, but when you look at the research, you look closely at what they're saying versus what all the data shows on different bar speeds and things, it becomes apparent that time under tension is not even a factor at all in hypertrophy. Right? And so anyone who has messed with it and got results, do you know whether you got results? Because they trained with sufficient volume and sufficient intensity and probably with progressive overload. That's why they got any progress doing it, not because of the time under tension part. And we don't have to try the time under tension part to understand it, because if you look at the research on concentric bar speeds and eccentric bar speeds, and you look at the research and all the research that we have on hypertrophy, it becomes apparent that it cannot be a factor, and that actually focusing on it is going to give you suboptimal growth. And it doesn't mean no growth. So if you got some growth, well, guess what? You lifted weights with progressive overload. You made gains. That's not saying much. You could have done 15 other systems or methodologies and possibly gotten even better results. Because it wasn't the time under tension part that helped you. You got gains in spite of it. We don't have to try it to know. We can look at the data that we have. It's not based upon good data or science. And it comes out of the bodybuilding world where everyone is a genetic freak who uses enormous, and I mean absolutely enormous amounts of anabolics. Different world. And in that situation, training stimulus can not only different, but probably in some cases doesn't matter as much as you would think, as long as they're training at all. Training remotely hard in that environment, they're going to get massive. There's no way to really determine what works. That's why we have labs. But it's not based upon science. It's not based upon something that's useful, and it's trendy because of a few people out there who promote it from a niche subculture. But we don't have to try it to know, hey, this isn't going to make you grow any faster. Because we know what stimulates muscle growth. in the human body. This is not 1995 anymore. We have a lot of really amazing clinical trials on this stuff to understand muscle growth. We're not living in the dark ages anymore. The same thing, something like intermittent fasting. We don't have to try it. I had someone try to convince me of that. They're like, Jason, well, you just have to try it. It's like, okay, there's meta-analysis now done on it. I don't care that you saw a single study or a single study in rats, or that this one quack, and it's Dr. Fu, I'll just say his name. Every medical doctor and registered dietitian calls him a quack. They call him a quack who is making up stuff to sell books. Right? So that's what the other experts are saying about the guy. And let's be honest here. If it had great properties, if intermittent fasting did, these studies looking at it would find it. And everyone would be on board. Why wouldn't they? If your job as a registered dietitian is to help people get healthier and lose fat and all this stuff, and there's some great medical breakthrough that a doctor's promoted that's proven to do these things with meta-analysis, you would get on board with it. Because if you didn't, you would fall behind and your clients would get less results and you wouldn't even be evidence-based anymore. They don't buy into it. They all call it nonsense. These are people whose livelihoods depend upon patients getting well and people getting results, who are dedicated to this passionately usually. You're usually pretty passionate about nutrition if you get into it. The meta-analysis show there are no health benefits to intermittent fasting beyond the weight loss that it causes. All this stuff about autophagy and all this is not reality. Okay, it's quackery. There are no health benefits that have ever been found other than the weight loss side. Okay, what did the meta-analysis say about the weight loss side? There is no weight loss benefits to intermittent fasting outside of what? The calorie deficit it creates. Does that mean it doesn't work? No. If it helps you maintain a calorie deficit, you will lose the weight that the calorie deficit dictates, and you will see the health benefits and health improvements that losing the body fat creates. But intermittent fasting without the calorie deficit has no health benefits. It has no weight loss benefits. This is what's been found in the meta-analysis. Meta-analysis trumps one study or even 5 studies. If you can only come up with 5 studies, a meta-analysis beats you if it concludes something different, because your studies will be included in the meta-analysis and compared to other studies. Okay, the meta-analysis have found it doesn't do anything. But some people can maintain lower calories on it. Not everybody, some people can. And if you're one of those people, it could be a very useful fat loss method. And if you need to lose body fat for health purposes, your health will improve. But outside of the calorie deficit that it created, there has not been a single health benefit or blood work or blood health marker improvement found from intermittent fasting. It is completely and entirely the calorie deficit. This is what the best science is saying. So we don't need to try it to know that. Okay, we've got good data on these things. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.